प्रोग्राम में गुफ्तगू को मज़ीद आगे बढ़ाएंगे और ये जानने की कोशिश करेंगे कि अमेरिका में होने वाले जो सदारती इंतखाबात हैं 2020, जो बाइडन जिसके कैंडिडेट हैं, डोनाल्ड ट्रंप उसके दूसरे कैंडिडेट हैं, इन इंतखाबात में अमेरिकी अवाम किसको मुंतखब करेगी सदर, और उसका पाकिस्तान पर क्या असर होगा और उसका अमेरिकी अवाम पर क्या असर होगा। इस हवाले से हमें ज्वाइन किया है फॉर्मर एम्बेसडर हैं, वाशिंगटन में बहुत अर्सा सर्व कर चुके हैं, मैथ्यू ब्राइजा। ये फॉर्मर सीनियर फेलो एट एटलांटिक काउंसिल रहे हैं, वाशिंगटन DC एम्बेसडर भी रहे हैं और बड़े अहम ओहदों पर मनसब पर फाइज रहे हैं। सो वेलकम टू द शो मिस्टर मैथ्यू। My question to you, sir, who is going to win the elections? $1 million question. Let me just pick one.
Yeah. But if I knew that, I'd be a very wealthy man because I'd be betting all my money in Las Vegas. It's, too close to all now. Depends on probably a small number of voters in a few key United States that are called the battleground states. And the way the U.S. election works is that it's not the person necessarily who gets the most votes across the country, but it's the person who gets enough individual states to vote for them. And so there are probably 10 of those that are in play right now. All of them are looking good for Joe Biden, except for two. But last time around as well, on election night, the polls were indicating Hillary Clinton was going to win those same contested states, and the polling was wrong. So it's really coming down to how many people have voted ahead of time for each party, and there's a record number of votes this time voted by mail or in person. Even before today, 98 million people have voted already, and we expect a total of 160 million. So in some states, they've already had more people vote before this election than voted in total in 2016. And so it's been more Democrats, it seems, that have voted early. But then the question is how many Republicans will come out today and actually go to the polling places, because the Democrats usually vote more by mail and the Republicans more often go to the polls. So it's super close.
Right. So, Mr. Matthew, like you've said, it's the 2016 comparison of Hillary Clinton. The polls we have seen right now, the national poll, it says that it's Biden this time, right? But it's really difficult to trust on that. Tell us that. What do you think is something which the Americans are looking for? Because sitting here and understanding the U.S. elections, we get this idea this whole entire election is either Trump or anti-Trump. So is this Trump versus Trump, or is this something else?
I think you're right. I think it's largely Trump against Trump or anti-Trump. Yeah, because Joe Biden, I mean, if he's elected, he'll be the oldest U.S. president ever to enter office. And he was a brilliant politician in his younger days, but he doesn't really have a strong following in the United States. He is he beat whatever it was 18 other Democratic candidates to become the party's candidate, primarily because more Americans simply want something other than Trump. So Donald Trump's reliable base of support is 35 to 40%. It's never gone beyond, let's say, 40, 42%. Never. And so that's not a majority of the country, right? Because he is so caustic, so abrasive, so mean-spirited, and many people think so corrupt, that this will be an election for the other guy. And one other point to make, going back to the previous one, in 2016, Hillary Clinton won by 3 million votes nationally, 3 million votes. Donald Trump won by a total of only 77,000 votes in 3 of those very close states I was talking about. Because if you win the state, you get all the elector votes for that state. And so Hillary Clinton, though, was a very flawed candidate. She was quite unpopular. Joe Biden is popular. He just isn't really inspiring people.
And why do you think is the reason why he's not inspiring? Because he's in politics since 1970s, to my understanding.
Yeah. And at that point, he was the youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and he would be then the oldest person ever elected president. So I think he's not been able to fire people up, as we say in colloquial American English, simply because he seems old. He seems kind of tired. The way he speaks is filled with gaffes and mistakes. He seems to get confused often when he's not reading a speech. And so, he doesn't therefore energize people. Now, President Trump really energizes his supporters because they're people who are already very mad. They're angry about the globalized economy. They think that they've been left behind, and they're sick and tired of people who spend all of their careers in Washington and say all the right political things, but in their mind, never do anything for these 40% of the Americans that support Trump. And by the way, the largest group of those people that support Trump are white, non-college educated men, mostly from rural areas in the United States.
Right. So if I ask you, as an observer, because you have worked really close to these administrations, what do you think are 2-3 pluses of Trump, which is differentiating him with the opponents?
Yeah, I think number one, he speaks in simple terms. He doesn't sound like he's trying to be cleverer than the voters. Number one. Number two, he rejects political correctness. He speaks his mind, and he does it in ways that echo what a lot of these people I talked about, the largely white, undereducated men in America feel. And number three, for some reason, this is a man of intense privilege. He was, born rich and has always been connected to power circles. He has convinced his support base that he's actually an outsider. He's just like them. He's not from the system.
So
and it's amazing. But he's
right. So in other words, Mr. Matthew, you're saying that the U.S. election is revolving around the personalities, right? It's personality versus personality, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this time.
So let us talk about the diplomatic front of U.S. Being a Pakistani, covering this since long, let me just ask you this question: which administration do you think is better for Pakistan?
For Pakistan. Well,
difficult.
I believe that President Trump hasn't really paid much attention at all to Central Asia, if it's okay to call Pakistan part of Central Asia, because I think it is. His main objective has been to bring the U.S. troops home from Afghanistan as quickly as possible. He's doing this without a sort of a strategic vision for the region. And I think Joe Biden is much more of a traditional strategic foreign policy thinker. And he too would like to get U.S. troops back, but I think he also more naturally thinks about all the complicated things that need to be done and all the responsibilities maybe the U.S. still has in Afghanistan and in having a strong relationship with Pakistan. There's been turbulence, obviously, in U.S.-Pakistani relations, but Pakistan is a crucial partner of the United States, which, my president I worked for in the White House for 4 years, George W. Bush, he really understood that.
Right. Thank you so much. We had former Ambassador Matthew Bryza, Senior Fellow at Atlanta, Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for your time.